Today is the Uposatha day. You might say the Buddhist holy day. We're sitting in an Uposatha hall. Uposatha hall is a building with a boundary around it that's been designated by the Sangha of monks, what we call a sima. And on Uposatha day, the monks will listen to the recitation of the rules of training, we call the Vinaya. So we just listened to that. It took about 45 minutes to hear, recited off by heart. Another way we refer to Uposatha day is Sila day. So as lay people, currently you're keeping the 8 precepts. It's also known as Uposatha Sila. It's a basis for training your heart, your mind in letting go of a lot of sensual desire and attachment, and simplifying your life, making things easy for practicing meditation. And the Buddha emphasized that the practice of Sila, whether it's 5 precepts, or 8 precepts, or 227 precepts of the Patimokkha, we want to put effort into keeping them well, sincerely, because that will help us train to abandon more negative intentions which come up, which if we follow will make us hurt ourselves, hurt other people in one way or another. But of course, you can't just tell yourself, never have an angry thought, never have a selfish thought, never have a moment of confusion. You can set that goal or that aspiration, but you also have to practice towards it. Simply making a wish never to get angry isn't enough. So we use the precepts as guidelines, rules, almost like a tool to help us reflect on our inner behavior and then how it is expressed outwardly. You see, if you break a precept, there has to be the intention come up first. And it may come up really fast, say like when you're angry. So you say a harsh word, scold someone, or when there's something you want to gain or hide, you tell a lie. Often these intentions will come up very quickly, and at first you may not even realize you're doing it. Your mindfulness, your awareness is not sharp enough, not quick enough. Or when the fly lands on your mouth or your face, maybe you're not quick enough to stop your hand squashing it. So you have to keep practicing, and sometimes we learn by reviewing or reflecting on our behavior, even if we've already broken a precept, and we think back how to improve and change, how not to make that same mistake again, perhaps. One way you learn is by seeing the harm that it caused, and you say, oh, I don't feel good about telling a lie or killing a fly, whatever it may be, I don't want to feel this same regret again. So you get more motivated, stronger in your intention to keep the precept. If we don't review or reflect on our behavior, then we may slowly break precepts more and more often. And you may say, like, if you steal something, you may, for a long time in your life, have the thought, oh, I don't steal. I try to be honest. But still, sometimes the thought to steal something may come up. When the opportunity is there, maybe there's a chance to pinch someone's money or do some dodgy accounting or something or other to cheat a person or a company out of their money, perhaps. And if that thought keeps coming up and you don't do anything about it, well, one day you might act on it, actually do the deed. The monks, we just listened to the Patimokkha, and the 4 most serious rules that you can break, that have the most serious consequences in the Patimokkha, are 4 parajika. So if you were to kill another person or steal something of value, engage in sexual intercourse or make false claims that you're enlightened or you have some special attainment, all these 4 parajika rules, if you break them, you're immediately, we say, defeated. You're no longer a monk, whether you admit it or not, whether you realize it or not. You're no longer a Buddhist monk. You have to leave the order of monks. It's very heavy karma. But then when you learn about these rules, you're not only learning about the rule itself, but also what leads up to breaking that rule. Because there's always preceding steps, mental steps, physical steps. So for example, stealing. If you were to think of taking something that's not yours, something of value, the thought is obviously already an unwholesome thought, that intention to steal. If you're mindful, it may come up and you just know it and you say, oh, that's no good, you let it go. You squash it or you abandon it quickly, recognizing this is unskillful, this is akusala Dhamma. But maybe the greed, the desire is really strong and you can't just drop it. So the thought keeps coming up. You keep holding on to it, giving it power. Then what happens? Maybe you start even planning how to get the thing you want. One step at a time. Can I get there? How would I get there? You start making a plan and then maybe even start acting towards that goal of getting the thing you want. So you do something. You move towards the object you want to steal. So the Buddha said every step you take with the mind of a thief to steal is already breaking a rule, a minor rule. And you haven't stolen the thing yet, but you've already made a step towards that. Or if you give some verbal instruction to somebody, I need to get that thing even though it's not yours, go and get it for me. Whether they know it or not, if your intention is to steal, then that verbal instruction is already breaking a rule, even if they haven't yet done it. Or say you're to pick something up to steal it that doesn't belong to you. What could it be? Say, for example, a mobile phone. If you move it a little bit, that's already breaking a rule. It's not fully stealing yet because you only just nudged it, touched it, moved it a little bit. but it's still breaking a rule. But if you completely pick it up off the place it is and then take it away, then you've fully broken the rule, stolen it. So the Buddha was very refined because that's the way a human mind works. You have intentions, good and bad, arising all the time. Every moment of consciousness. And some of those intentions are like seeds, and if you keep watering a seed and it's in earth and it gets the sun and gets the right conditions, it will grow. So say like the seed of the intention to steal, if you keep watering it, thinking about it, planning, then it will grow and it becomes stronger and may lead you to do something. As they say, if you think the thought, well, don't say anything. If you say something, well, don't do anything. If you do something, well, it's too late. So every preceding moment to the act of stealing, in this case, you're breaking a rule as a monk. Even as a layperson, you may not have these exact same rules, but you're having those moments of unskillful intention moving up to that point. This is why we practice mindfulness. Ajahn Chah encouraged us to see that your mindfulness is something you practice from moment to moment to moment. Of course, at first we have only a few moments of mindfulness and then many moments without mindfulness. So you have to keep working at it to re-establish awareness, mindfulness, not just in meditation, but when you're going around your business, talking, walking, working, doing all the things we do. We're trying to bring the mind back to the present moment, to pay attention and be mindful, have clear comprehension. Ajahn Chah said if you have many moments of mindfulness, well, they'll join up to be like a stream. So he compared it to like opening a tap of water. You open a little bit, you just get a drip of water. Drip, 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 drip. You open a bit more, and the drips join up to become a stream of water. As long as the tap is open, it keeps flowing out as a stream. So if your mindfulness is like a stream, then those intentions cannot get established in your mind. So even if you have a bad intention, really strong, unskillful, unwholesome intention, it won't be able to be established in your mind because you have mindfulness there. There's nowhere for it to stay, so it will fade away. But if your mindfulness is still patchy, there's confusion, there's attachment, there's different things going on, well, maybe that intention does get established and you start believing it, holding on to it, identifying with it, and then you might move towards actually completing that action. So many monks, they've had this experience where they've had a thought maybe to do something not very good. Maybe they're angry with someone, want to go and argue with them or say something aggressive or scold another monk. Or they have strong desire, they want to go and do something they shouldn't, break a rule. And they may have a little battle in their mind where they think of going off to do that thing or say those words. And then they stop, and they turn around, and they come back again. Should I or shouldn't I? There's a hesitation because part of the mind understands, oh, this is unwholesome, or maybe there'll be some unskillful, unpleasant consequences arising. Perhaps I shouldn't. Again, Ajahn Chah used to say, if you're in doubt, well, don't do it, don't say it. Could be something fairly innocent, like eating in the afternoon. We don't eat after midday. But perhaps you have the desire to eat, and there's some food there that was offered earlier, so you're allowed to eat it, but you're not sure what the time is. And there's no clock immediately available, so you think, well, it's probably still before midday, I can eat, because that food is there and it's tasty. But you don't know for sure. So then you go and eat it thinking it's before midday, but it turns out it's after midday. So they say you've still broken the rule, even though you convinced yourself it was before midday. Maybe that convincing yourself was just, desire, hoping that it's before midday. So the Buddhist monastic discipline for monks, very refined. Every moment of consciousness, every intention matters, and you're training to abandon the unwholesome, cultivate the wholesome. Of course, we sometimes lose the battle. You give in to your greed, your anger, your fear, your confusion. So we have a mechanism, a method for dealing with that. It's called we call it now is a confession of offences, or confession of apati. But apati means you're breaking a rule. Confession really means revealing. Confession is a word from Catholic Church, confessing your sins, but really you reveal the offence you broke, the rule you broke, to another monk. So we do that before the patimokkha, so that you can sit in and listen to the patimokkha with a mind that feels pure, relaxed, because you've cleared up any previous offences, rules broken. You've mentioned it to another monk, if you can remember it. You reveal to another trusted monk, and there's a little ceremony, a formula you recite, and they say, are you aware of what you did, the mistake? Yes, I'm aware, and I'm not going to do it again. You re-establish your intention to keep the rules. And hopefully you become more and more mindful as you do that. So then it really improves your level of mindfulness, and you'll see that when you meditate, because you'll see you become much clearer, much sharper in your mind with the different intentions that come up. You have more restraint, more self-control, and when you meditate, you'll get peaceful more quickly. Your mind settles down easily. There's a huge part of the disturbance in our mind when we meditate is regrets, memories of unskillful behaviour in the past, things we said and did that we're not proud of, not happy with. These days we use the word feel guilty about. It's really the agitating nature of unskillful behaviour. When you remember it, it agitates the mind. You get a bad feeling. You don't feel good about yourself. You maybe feel sorry for someone else if you hurt someone, even an animal. And it agitates the mind. So sometimes we make mistakes and then you can't sleep at night, or you can't sit still in your meditation because you made a mistake. Literally, when you remember the mistakes you've made, the things you did, you feel embarrassed or sad or shaky. You can't even sit still sometimes. These are not the only things that agitate the mind in meditation, but it's one thing that can be very disturbing. So of course, if you put effort into keeping the 5 precepts, 8 precepts, or patimokkha, it helps your mind to be much happier in itself. you feel you have a sense of well-being. It's an important point in Buddhism, is that we are not innately evil or bad. We're just human beings with a mind, and that mind you can cultivate to be completely free from greed, anger, delusion. You can abandon all these unskillful intentions through effort, through the practice. But if we don't train, we don't practice, well, they often come up stronger and more often. Unfortunately, you see that with people through their life. They get more angry as they get older. They get more worried. They pick up bad habits if they're not practicing. Things can go either way. But nothing is fixed. And that's the good message, the optimistic message of the Buddha, is that you can change your mind for the better and change your life for the better through the practice. You can give up bad habits, wrong views, attachments on every level. Your sila is just the beginning level. You're learning to live peacefully with other people, at work, in family, and wherever you are, in a monastery, wherever. Later you're learning to give up maybe some wrong views you've been attaching to, where we see this body as a self, belonging to a self, my body. The more strongly you identify with your body as self, the more that view will cause you suffering, because your body doesn't do what you want. And what do we chant when we chant about suffering? We say suffering is not getting what you want. Getting what you don't want and not getting what you want. In short, not attaining your wishes is suffering. Every day we're experiencing that. Every day you'll see there's sometimes, some things, some situations, you don't get what you want. You want your body to be strong, healthy, look good and feel good, but it doesn't always do that. Because we're getting older every day and the body is fragile. You want feelings to be just as you like, so you only really want pleasant feeling, or second best, neutral feeling, but nobody wants pain. Painful feeling, no, don't want. But just in a few minutes of sitting in meditation, you'll probably have at least a few painful feelings. Physical pain, mental pain, when you have an unpleasant memory. You can't control feeling that much, because feeling depends on the different situations, the causes, the conditions. So sometimes you're meditating, you feel good, peaceful, but then you remember a mistake you made and it drags you down, back into feeling irritated with yourself, annoyed, or annoyed with someone else, or maybe both. When you're really depressed or disappointed with life, then everybody is wrong, everything is wrong, nothing works, nothing is right. Somebody comes to help you and say, go away. Where's that coming from? There's probably somewhere in there not getting what you want. If you're ill, you want to get well. So as long as you haven't got well yet, you'll get annoyed, frustrated. If you go to work, you want to get paid and you want your job to go well and you want to make money and be successful, get ahead, but it doesn't always go to plan. In life, we want other people to recognize how good we are, and praise us and treat us nicely and say good things about us. And sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. Even your own mind, you want your own mind to be peaceful, full of nice, happy thoughts, but you can't always get that. Even your own mind will throw up unexpected, unpleasant, painful thoughts and moods. So if we can't even guarantee our own mind, it's hard to control other people and expect other people to please us and do what we want, because even our own mind won't. And this is what we call dukkha. Life is full of ups and downs and unexpected things, and not always getting what you want, and sometimes getting what you don't want. The very opposite of what you want, you get. I remember when I started practicing Buddhism, I was reading the Buddha's words on this very thing, thinking about suffering. And I went into work. I was a student, but I had a temporary job. And I went to work to earn some money. And the job I quite enjoyed because I was selling music. And as a kid, I liked music, playing music, listening to music. And I was selling music, so I could listen to music all day long. And I went in, and there was a friend of mine working there as well. And I said, "How's it going?" He said, "Oh, I'm so happy. I can listen to music all day." I said, "Yeah, I like it. I can listen to music all day. What a good job. Really like this job." My friend said, "Yeah, oh, I really like this job." Then the manager walked up and said, "You're fired." To my friend. I was lucky they didn't fire me. Well, my friend was fired on the spot. They hadn't done anything wrong, it's just the company didn't make enough money, so they didn't need so many people. Life is like that. You say, "Oh, I enjoy this, I just want to carry on doing this," and then they fire you. It could be a relationship, a job, something you're enjoying, and then it all disappears just like that. Life is very unpredictable, it's not sure. So a wise person understands that. Wisdom in Buddhism is all about understanding the impermanent, changing nature of things, and understanding that everything goes according to causes and conditions. It's not always under the control of a self. You don't control everything, so don't try to. Much of our suffering is trying to control everything and get what we want, how we want. Sometimes you do get what you want, but sometimes you don't. So a wise person, they're ready for that, they know that. They know that they won't get everything they want. So when you don't get what you want, that's actually teaching you, it's confirming what the Buddha said is true. So you meditate, you say, "I want to be peaceful," and then sometimes you're very agitated and disturbed, you're not peaceful. Instead of getting upset that you're not peaceful, you can actually sit there and say, "Oh, this is exactly what the Buddha said. Not getting what you want is suffering, and it's like this." So we use this phrase, "it's like this," or "this is the way it is." So it feels like this. When you don't get what you want, it feels like this. But that becomes Dhamma then, even though it's unpleasant and difficult to be with. It becomes the truth because you're now using wisdom to say, dukkha is not getting what you want. It's like this. So instead of getting stuck in the suffering and getting more frustrated, you turn it into Dhamma, into something that brings you wisdom. Like Ajahn Chah, when the monks, he had a lot of monks living with him, so quite often monks would get ill. Sometimes they'd go up to Ajahn Chah and say, "Oh, Ajahn Chah, I'm ill." And he'd answer, say, "Yeah, I was expecting that." That's life, we get ill. Of course we don't want it, but it happens. And you don't always get what you want. Nowadays, everybody in the world is very idealistic about how the world should be, but most of the ideals are very personal. I want my world to be like this. I don't want anything happening that I don't agree with. I only want things happening that suit me, fit with my worldview. So of course people are getting very stressed. Even though everyone is richer, healthier, safer than before, everyone is getting mentally more stressed than before. In the time of the Buddha, there was a man like this, a Dhamma meditator, Diganaka, long nails. He's one of those meditators who would never cut his nails, so he had long curly nails. You can still see them in India today. He was actually Venerable Sariputta's nephew, if I remember. Venerable Sariputta was the Buddha's kind of right-hand monk, senior assistant monk. And one day, Sariputta they're in a cave on Kichagutta mountain. They call it the Hog's Cave, the Pig's Cave. I think wild pigs originally lived there, and then the Buddha was in there, staying, and Sariputta was looking after him. He was fanning him, because it must have been a hot day, I guess. And Diganaka came to see the Buddha. And the Buddha asked him, "So how do you practice? What's your view on things?" And he said, "Well, anything I don't like is not right for me. I don't accept." And the Buddha said, "Well, really, you shouldn't accept that view either." He said, "Well, why not?" The Buddha said, "Well, do you like old age, aging?" He said, "No." "Do you like sickness, getting sick?" "No." "Do you like the thought of death?" "No." "But you're going to get old, get sick and die, aren't you?" "Yes." "Oh, then your view is wrong." That's a very brief summary of what the Buddha said. Sariputta's fanning the Buddha while this conversation goes on, and he got enlightened listening to it. A lot of people these days have this view. I just want things to go my way. I only want things that I like, things that agree with me. Everything else I don't want. So they're always suffering, but they don't realize it's because they have this view that they want the world to be how they like, which is impossible, because the nature of the world is dukkha. It's impermanent, unsatisfactory, it's not self, you can't control it all. So the next time your mind is not peaceful in meditation, you say, "Oh, good, I was expecting that." Not getting what I want is dukkha. Yeah, the Buddha already warned me. I already chanted it in the morning chanting. Sampa yogo dukkha, vipa yogo dukkha. Not attaining one's wishes is dukkha. Not getting what you want is dukkha. Getting what you don't want is dukkha. When it happens, just say, "Oh yeah, this is the Buddha teaching me right here, right now." When the next fly comes on your face, or the temperature's a bit too cold, or a bit too hot, or there's a wind blowing, or maybe your back hurts when you're lying on the ground at night, your mattress isn't thick enough, you're too cold, can't sleep properly, or the food isn't right, something is not right. This is just the Buddha teaching you. Dukkha is like this. Try not to take it too seriously. Just be mindful, oh, it's like this. Then it becomes a teaching. And you can let go of some of those negative mind states. So for the rest of this period, we can do some quiet meditation till the bell.